its night shall lose. So the Bible says, and it still is news. Mama may have, Papa may have, but God bless the child that's got his own, that's got his own. Now the strong get more, while the weak ones fade. Empty pockets don't ever make the grade. Mama may have, Papa may have, but God bless the child who's got his own, who's got his own. With money, you've got lots of friends. They're all crowded round your door. But when it's gone, and you're smiling, we know you're around no more. Rich relations here, frosted on bread inside. You can help yourself, but don't drink too much. Mama may have, Papa may have. God bless the child that's got his own, that's got his own. God bless the child, God bless the child that's got his own. Searching for perfect songs for today, and searched long and hard. That's very helpful. Here you go. And Nina Simone came to mind. This is Craig Hall, not David Morgenroth. On with the show. Things that I should say, say them loud, say them clear, for the whole wide world to hear. I wish I could share all the love that's in my heart. I wish I could take the bars that keep us apart. I wish you could know just what it means
Thank you, Eden, for sharing your beautiful music on this special day. It's great to be inspired through the gift of music and word. For those of you who aren't familiar with Eden Atwood, she is an artist, educator, and writer who has produced 9 critically acclaimed jazz albums, and of course lives here in Missoula. Thank you very much. A warm welcome to you all. Francis of Assisi had two things attributed to him that I think are most appropriate for this night and this occasion. The first is a short one, and the other is more of a prayer. And so the first: start by doing what is necessary, then what is possible, and suddenly you are doing the impossible. Let us pray. Lord, make us instruments of your peace. Where there is hatred, let us sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is discord, union. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. Where there is sadness, joy. Grant that we may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive, it is in pardoning that we are pardoned, and it is in dying that we are born to eternal life. Amen. Now I'd like to welcome our first speaker, Murray. Murray has been involved with this celebration since its inception. Murray is in community supervision programs, director with the Missoula Youth Court. In addition, Murray serves as a special assistant to the Vice President of Student Affairs at the University of Montana, where he specializes in bicultural adaptive strategies for students of African descent. So welcome, Murray. Thanks so much for your presence here and all that you've done over the years. It's good to have you.
I don't have an extendable mic today, so if those of you in the back can't hear me, please let me know. You can't? Come down front now. I want to take a second here and have everybody stand up for a second. And I want you to turn around and find one person that you don't know and introduce yourself to them.
Oh, you know who you are.
Nice to meet you. Tasha, and you? Yeah, I know. June. I know those. June, like June. My dad is a nickname the kids, they call him June. Yeah. But that was, I don't know where it came from. But it's a good name. Yep.
You can be seated again. Thank you, Pastor, for that invocation, and thank you again to Eden. On April 4th, 1968, the day started like any other ordinary Memphis spring day. The weather was interrupted by a light, warm rain that fell upon the city as many residents went about their day in the manner in which they did the day before and the day before that. By 6:02 that evening, the city of Memphis and the United States of America would be hard-pressed to call that day ordinary. 42 years later, we gather to honor a man many have cast as a hero of our nation. It wasn't so much Dr. King's oratorical skill set or his characterization as a strong man that set him apart from the crowd. A strong man or a strong woman is someone who takes a stand in the face of injustice and holds fast to a universal truth. In Dr. King's case, as those who stood with him, that truth revolved around social, political, and economic equality. The truth be told, there were multitudes of strong men and women, black, white, brown, red, yellow, that formed the base of the civil rights movement. In my estimation, Martin was more than a strong man. He was an exceptional leader. By definition, an exceptional leader is someone who captures the necessity of a cause, develops a sense of passion about that cause, and is able to imbue that belief in others and spur them on to action. As we pause to commemorate the birth and legacy of Dr. King, we do so this year within the context of a landmark historical perspective that can be and has been viewed in many different ways. For some of us, the election of an African American to the highest office in the land hails as a quantum leap in civil rights. A discernible note sounded in America's professed desire to overcome bigotry and embrace racial equality. For many, Obama's ascendancy to the presidency symbolizes a country's willingness to trust the fundamental, foundational statement espoused in its most sacred document, that document which reads in part that all men are created equal. These folks now point to one instance in our country's history where America has lived up to its fundamental pledge. In some quarters, the election of Barack Obama has been hailed as a sunset on the issue of racial discrimination Martin and his followers fought so hard to eradicate. So much so that many of us as Americans lately act in a manner that suggests that these battles are over. We walk through the door, taken off our hat and gloves, hung up our coat, and laying down to rest, comforted in the belief that our work is done. Finally, many of us continue to labor under the cloak of indifference. We've become what my father used to call in his country wisdom, the proverbial hog under the acorn tree, our head down, constantly consuming, never looking up to see that which supplies us. In each of these instances, I would offer that we need take care not to confuse the journey with the destination, not to confuse activity with accomplishment. Dr. King admonished us of the false sense of security in this belief when he stated that the ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in a moment of comfort and convenience, but where he stands in times of challenge and controversy. America in 2010 may not be a racist country, but racist attitudes still persist here. A great number of the injustices and inequities that Martin spoke out against, as well as new ones, continue today. Racism, discrimination, sexual preference, ethnic and gender-based inequities, limited access to basic health care needs, disproportionality in terms of justice, representation, and poverty are all maladies which infect America in 2010. And like many a disease, the cells that have caused that sickness have adapted to the challenges presented by the proposed cure, and have in many instances subtly morphed into different, yet still deadly entities. Martin was able to articulate to the country that this dis-ease we were feeling with effort could be cured. In part, we honor Dr. King for his ability to hold America up to the knife blade edge of existence and ask of her, which side do you fall off on? Do you fall off on the side of justice and hope, or do you trickle down the slippery slope of inequity and self-centered determinism? In a very real way, the civil rights movement was about all Americans. True, many minorities in this country had lived through such an extended period of civil wrongs, they had trouble comprehending the concept of civil rights. Perhaps one of the more important points of his legacy was Dr. King's ability to offer minorities in this country a concrete, tangible opportunity to believe in themselves. Dr. King knew that belief in a country starts with each individual that comprises that country's ability to believe in themselves. So today we again pause to take note of the body of work of a man who promoted multiracial interaction and intercultural collaboration, a man who realized the significance of the symbiotic necessities of our existence as individuals and how that translated into how we saw ourselves as a nation. Dr. King knew then what we need to remind ourselves of today, that now more than ever, we are truly interdependent. In closing, in summation, we gather here for three specific reasons: remembrance, celebration, and action. We remember a time in our not-too-distant past when America was less than all she could be. We remember Goodman, Cheney, Schwimmer, three young men who gave their lives registering folks to vote. We remember Emmett Till, Medgar Evers, John Kennedy, Bobby Kennedy, and countless unsung others. We remember and venerate those who fought tirelessly to remind us all that we could do better. We celebrate a man who had the conviction of his beliefs and his ability to encourage like-minded individuals not to run, not to give up, but to persist in the belief that a shared goal was worth fighting for, more so worth dying for. We're finally called to action by our persistence, convictions, and our desire to do our part in removing impediments from the road so that those who come after us might have a less difficult path to navigate. Michelle Obama perhaps channeled Martin's call to service when she stated about her husband, her president, that Barack Obama will require that you work. He's going to demand that you shed your cynicism, that you put down your divisions, that you come out of your isolation, that you move out of your comfort zones, that you push yourself to be better, and that you engage. Written on a plaque on the wall outside the room which Martin Luther King was slain are these words: "Behold, here comes the dreamer. Let us slay him and see what becomes of his dream." We clearly have the opportunity to fulfill the dream inspired by the man in the movement. The question that remains for each of us is, are we up to the challenges presented by that opportunity? It's now my honor to welcome tonight's keynote speaker, the first Native American woman ever to hold executive office in the state of Montana, Denise Juneau, State Superintendent for Public Instruction. Denise is a member of the Mandan and Hidatsa tribes, grew up in Browning on the Blackfeet Indian Reservation, where both her parents were public school teachers. She holds advanced degrees from Montana State University, which we won't hold against her, and the Harvard School of Education, and a law degree from the University of Montana. Juneau began her teaching career as an English teacher and a debate team coach in rural Newtown, North Dakota, on the Fort Berthold Reservation. She then returned to Montana to teach at her alma mater, Browning High School. Before taking office in 2009, Denise directed the implementation of the Indian Education for All program at OPI, helping increase achievement of Indian students and ensure that all Montana youth develop an understanding of their unique history, culture, and contribution of Montana tribes. Last year, the National Indian Education Association named Denise Educator of the Year. Please join with me in welcoming Denise Juneau.
Thank you. Well, this is great, Missoula. Thanks for having me, and thanks for inviting me and to share this day with you. It really is a great day. There are things going on all across the state, but I'm really happy to be here. Packed house. I understand you guys had a march and a rally, and I just think Missoula really is a great town for celebration for events like this, so I thank you, Missoula. Ami Thurber, I was visiting with her a little earlier. How many of you know her? She helps organize this event. She runs the, National Coalition Building Institute, and they help organize this event. But I was downstairs earlier when we first walked in, and they have quite a spread down there. So I'll try to be short today because I know that all of you want some cake. But there was, at the beginning of the table, this big bowl of apples. And she was eyeing those apples because I think she really wanted a snack. And this lady came running up and stuck the sign on that bowl of apples that said, "Take only one, God is watching." So she got down to the other end and there was this big plate of cookies there. And she looked around, scribbled out a note, put it on there and said, "Take all you want, God is watching the apples." So that's the kind of person you want on your side, organizing and helping you out. I do want to thank the planning committee. I think they did a great job. And I look around this room and I see children everywhere. And I think that's really great. And so thank you, students, for coming and celebrating with your community. Thank you for helping to lead us in the direction that we need to go. And I think we ought to give the students of Missoula schools a big round of applause. Today, we celebrate the life of a man who brought and still brings hope and healing to our country. His legacy teaches us that courage, truth, compassion, dignity, and humility are still the most important values to live by. Martin Luther King Jr. continues to press us forward in our advocacy of equality and justice, and to serve our communities. Thanks to all of you who spent a day on today rather than a day off. Dr. King continues to inspire us and to teach us that when we act collectively, great things can be accomplished, and that when we dare to hope, we can change the course of our history. As you heard earlier, Barack Obama is our first African-American president of this country. During his historic campaign, he made us believe again that change will not come if we wait for some other person or some other time. We are the ones we have been waiting for. We are the change that we seek. He made us reflect on the principles and ideals that Dr. King stood and fought for, and that is a good thing. It is up to us to continue that belief, because the power is in us as a collective to effect change and maintain optimism. We also had a historic election in our state, Montana. Our state elected a state superintendent who believes in the power of public education and what it can do for individuals, for communities, and for our state. And yes, Montana elected a superintendent who happens to be American Indian. The first American Indian woman to serve in a statewide elected office. The face of Montana politics is changing, and we should all be proud of that fact. And so I thank you, community of Missoula, for helping to make that happen. And I bring forward this issue because it is important to understand its context and how meaningful it is. The story of American Indian involvement in the public education and in the American political system is a brief one. My great-great-grandparents observed the beginning of reservation life in the middle to late 1800s and early 1900s, where they saw destruction of their known way of life and had no opportunity to attend any education system except a religious mission school here and there. They were on reservations when Montana became a territory and then a state. My great-grandparents attended a school at a time when Indians were educated at off-reservation boarding schools, hundreds of miles from home, or at Bureau of Indian Affairs day schools, or at a religious mission school. They could not attend state public school. My great-grandfather attended school at Carlisle Indian School in Pennsylvania, where their motto was to kill the Indian and save the man. It was not until 1935, when some Blackfeet parents sued the state, that Indians were even allowed to attend state public schools. My grandparents were the first generation to attend public school in Montana. My parents are second-generation public school students, and still, their first years after their high school experience were spent at the Haskell Institute in Kansas. In the 1960s, at a time when most Americans were fighting for equality, when Martin Luther King Jr. was leading marches and advocating for civil rights for all people, my parents, as adults, were in a school where they went to town only on the weekends and had lights out at 9 p.m. After graduating from Haskell, my parents went on to California on a federal program called relocation, where they took Indians to the cities and gave them jobs in order to assimilate them into mainstream society. So my folks met actually in Oakland, California. I always tell people that I'm the product of a federal policy. My brother and I were the third generation in our family to attend public schools. My grandparents were born before Indians had the right to vote or were even considered citizens of the United States. It wasn't until 1924, with the Indian Citizenship Act passed by Congress, that American Indian people became citizens of their own country. And then Indians could vote only if they were a taxable property owner. It wasn't until 1954 when Indian people could vote whether they were taxable property owners or not. My brother and I are the first generation in our family born with the right to vote simply because we were born US citizens. We have come a long way as Americans and as Montanans, but there is still so much more to do. There is hope for our future, to still live up to Dr. King's dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed, that we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. I've seen this promise of living up to Dr. King's values of equality and justice when I visit with people all across the state, every corner and in the middle. Over the last couple of years, I've traveled all over Montana. I do have to say that the people with the most optimism, hands down, every time, are students. They dream big dreams, dreams they are counting on us to help them achieve. And if kids can dream those dreams, we can too. I had the opportunity last summer to travel with the United States Secretary of Education, Arne Duncan. And he went to Lame Deer. It was his first time ever on an Indian reservation in his life. They had SUVs that had tinted windows pulling up. And we all were gathered outside of Busby there, and they came rushing up in their black SUVs and they jumped out, got on the road, had their guns, and there was nobody coming for miles. So they had Blackberries with their security there and wouldn't work in Lame Deer. And so, but when we were there, he held a talking circle with students and teachers, board members, parents, and community members. And he was very struck by what he saw there, the poverty in that area, his discussions with students about their education system. And what he was most struck by was what the students wanted. They expressed the same need that every student I meet with expresses as well. They want adults to believe in them. They want adults to show up and tell them that they are capable of achieving their dreams. They want adults to challenge them, to hold high expectations of them, and to help them to achieve greatness. The thing I learned from all of my visits with students, as I'm sure all of you know as well from interacting with young people, is that educating a child takes effort from every adult that they come into contact with, whether that's in school or out of school. And I know all of you understand it is imperative that we believe in every child's brilliance, creativity, and talents. And so what do we want for the children of our state? The world is changing. Our students live in a world that's vastly different from the world we grew up in. We must prepare them for every opportunity they will meet. And sometimes I think they can actually prepare us. Let us not forget that Dr. King wanted a world where children were judged by the content of their character, not the color of their skin. And I think our youth can lead us to that place. Their generation is facing many significant challenges, and it is up to all of us in this room to work with them as they confront those challenges. Our economy. What is the role of government in our economy, and how will they dig our country out of a huge deficit? Civil liberties in a time of war. Can we safeguard national security without trampling on civil liberties? How will their generation shape policy around abortion, same-sex marriage, capital punishment, gun control, poverty, immigration, global climate change? It is up to all of us to make sure we leave the world in a shape that will allow our young people to prosper and to succeed. We must teach the next generation to be civically engaged so they can take on all of those big issues. We must teach them to work actively and collaboratively to get their ideas heard in order to bring about meaningful change in their community. A democracy is only as strong as its people's participation. There are, in fact, as I travel around, many young people in Montana making a difference. And I am fortunate to visit with many of these impressive students. I was recently in Medicine Lake, which is a very, very small town up in northeast Montana, very close to the Canadian border, where when I walked into school, the first graders were there to greet me. They had made little cards They presented me with a fruit basket, and the first grade teacher told me they have been so excited all week that one first grader kept raising his hand and saying, "When is she coming? When is she coming? When is Miss Montana coming?" So I felt like I got to upgrade that day, and I gave that kid an A. So Montana students are very engaged in the democratic process. Last summer, 2,500 students from across the state participated in the March Against Meth in Helena. It was an impressive sight. During the state legislative session, several student groups across Montana submitted proposals to their legislators to create new laws, and some of them succeeded. Students across the state build houses for those who need them through their shop classes. I also know that a high school student here in Missoula took on her school board policy about academic freedom and her teacher's right to show a controversial video in class. I was just recently spoke as well at the Diversity Week that the Respect Club at Hellgate High puts on. They put on a week-long forum to talk to their peers about diversity and all of these similar issues. And students from Big Sky High School recently attended the state land board meeting to advocate for a clean and healthful environment for their generation and their future. This week, many people honored Dr. King's memory by volunteering in a local service project, helping a neighbor, or donating food. Some of these efforts were led by students. High school students in Darby organized a blood drive in honor of their fellow student who is fighting cancer. A first grade student at Jefferson Elementary, his name is Gabe, came to the principal's office and asked if there was something they could do for the children of Haiti. Gabe and his mom had talked about the earthquake the night before, and he said he wanted to get on a plane and go to Haiti to help. His mom told him that he needed to stay in school, but suggested that maybe there was another way that they could offer help. And each month, Jefferson Elementary has a Spirit of Giving event where students try to give something to those in need locally, nationally, or globally, and Haiti fit the bill this month. Gabe is now collecting loose change throughout the month of February to donate to the Red Cross. And Gabe is just one example of how students are stepping up all across Montana to help. And when I talk about these stories and I meet these students, whether they're in elementary school or whether they're in high school, they give me great hope, especially for the next generation. They are doing remarkable things, and they are making a difference. We should all take a lesson from these youngest citizens. They teach us that we have to have the courage to seek the truth, speak the truth, even when ours is the lone voice doing so. They teach us that we should not let our unwillingness to embrace differences get in the way of learning all we can from others. People around the world, the country, and our state fundamentally share many of the same values. We all love our family and friends. I have family here tonight. I have friends who are like family, and that makes it great as well. We want to be safe, we want to be educated, and we want to be healthy. It is those common values that Dr. King wanted us to live up to. It is those common values that we should continue to advocate for all people. We must remember his lessons, our shared values, and build upon our common strengths. We must continue to be inspired by Dr. King. We have come a long way, but we still have many miles to go. And I'll leave you with a small piece of his I Have a Dream speech. It provides us with our mission as we leave here tonight. It's very brief. We cannot walk alone, and as we walk, we must make the pledge that we shall always march ahead. We cannot turn back. Thank you all, and thanks Missoula for having me.
Hello, everyone. This is the Lewis and Clark Peace Choir lining up in front of you. We are Lewis and Clark Elementary School students and teachers. My name is Dorothy Morrison, and my co-directors are Jane McAllister and Kathy Dungan. This is a volunteer choir. We meet once a week, 8 to 8:25 on Thursday mornings. Anyone is welcome to join us. And we last year produced an award-winning production, the Father Jim Hogan Search for Peace Award, for a production called Oh Freedom, the life of Dr. Martin Luther King and the Civil Rights Movement. So these are some of the songs from that award-winning production. Here we go.
In to freedom through the Underground Railroad. So here's Harriet Tubman.
One night I dreamed I was in slavery. About 1950 was the time. Sorrow was the only sign, and nothing about you eased my mind. Out of the night appeared a lady leading a distant pilgrim band. First mate she called, pointing her hand. No maker apart for this young woman. Come on up, I got a lifeline. Come on up to this train of mine. Come on up, I got a lifeline. Come on up to this train of mine. They said her name was Harriet Tubman, and she drove for the Underground Railroad. Hundreds of miles she traveled onward, gathering slaves from town to town, seeking all the lost and found, and setting those free that once were bound. Somehow my heart was growing weaker, bound by the wayside sinking sand. Firmly did this lady stand. She lifted me up and she took my hand. Come on up, I got a lifeline. Come on up to this train of mine. Come on up, I got a lifeline. Come on up to this train of mine. They said her name was Harriet Tubman, and she drove for the Underground Railroad.
We have one more for you, but before we do sing our last song, I would like to introduce Mr. Russ Parsons on piano over there. This is Swing Rock Sweet Chariot with a twist. Sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home. Sing low, sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home. Swing that chariot up and let me ride. Swing that chariot up and let me ride. Oh, rock me, Lord, rock me, Lord. Come and meet me. I know on each other side. Swing that chariot up and let me ride. Swing that chariot up and let me ride. Oh, rock me, Lord, rock me, Lord. Come and meet me. I know on each other side.
Thank you, Lewis and Clark Peace Choir. That was a very generous offer to let us sing with you if we would, and I wonder how many of you in the audience thought, as I did, that I didn't dare open my mouth and spoil their beautiful harmonies. And before we continue, I again would like to thank Superintendent Juneau for being with us tonight, and also Miss Montana. Now I'd like to tell you a little bit about our youth essay and art contest sponsored by the Missoulian newspaper. Each year, the Martin Luther King Jr. Day Planning Committee judges essays and artwork created by local students. The committee judged those submissions last weekend, and I know they had very difficult decisions. They've selected a first, second, and third place winner in both the art and the essay categories for each of 3 age groups: grades 3 through 5, grades 6 through 8, and grades 9 through 12. All the winners are listed in the program, and we have some of the student artwork that is being shown behind me on the wall. We have the opportunity tonight to hear the winning essay in each age group. To begin, I'd like to welcome our first place essay winner in grades 3 through 5, and that is Darla Sweeney from Lewis and Clark Elementary. Darla?
Living, loving, learning. On January 15th, 1929, a king was proudly born, a king without a crown. And soon he spoke of respect in our needs and fairness, justice, and differences. Respect to our community like a tiny grain of sand, moving but not choosing where to sift and hold a hand. Needs for every soul, every nature, day or night. Decent wages, fair conditions in which families can grow. Learning, loving, laughing, living, sharing special songs, living in one community, not treating people wrong. Now he watches children laugh and sits upon a cloud. He gave the gift of sharing, and now he wears a crown.
And thank you, Darla. In second and third place from Rattlesnake Elementary in the grades 3 through 5 essay, I'd like to mention Severina Donnelly, and if you're here, please stand. And Alwyn Tobalski, and if you're here, please stand. Thank you very much. And in the art contest, I'd like to mention the first, second, and third place winners, and when I call your name, if you'd also stand. Michael Frizzell, Woodman Elementary. Clarissa Spain, also from Woodman. And Ellie Becker from Rattlesnake. So in grades 6 through 8, we had a really tight competition, and the judges could not break a tie for first place. So we're going to have first with us Alexis Crabtree from Frenchtown.
Have you ever been treated different or called names because of the way you act or look? Well, that's how people with darker skin felt. The only reason between people with darker skin and people with lighter skin is the skin color. How would you feel if you were treated like that? I bet you would feel sad and unsure of yourself. Maybe even discouraged. That can be kind of bad. I hate it when people do mean things just because of the way another person acts or looks. There's absolutely no point. I honestly believe in what Martin Luther King's speeches were saying. They were saying that people should not be treated differently. Technically, we are all brothers and sisters. Right now, this very instant, people are being bullied because of their skin color. We together as a nation need to stop it. There is no reason for bullying. People are always being bullied because they are different. You should think before you do things and say, do I want this to happen to me? If you don't want it to, then don't do it. When somebody does something mean to you, what does it feel like? Pretty uncomfortable, right? That's how others feel. When they are treated like that, they feel like they're worth nothing in the world. Stop hurting people that are different from you. Stop now.
Thank you, Alexis. And now, if Alyssa Penrose would please come up.
Our needs are identical, but what fascinates me is the more that I know you, it's more clear to see. When I get a job, then do the best I can do. I want a fair pay. How about you? I need a car and a house on the bend, but when I need most is respect from you, friend. My skin is one color and yours is another, but what matters most is that you are my brother. Our needs are identical, and here is another. Let's not forget we need each other. So let's work together on I Have a Dream. In spite of small differences, we make a great team.
Thank you, Alyssa. And again, in grade 6th grade, I'd like to mention the other finalists, and if you're here, please stand. In second place, Bryn Franisiewicz of Meadow Hill. And Matea Prison of Frenchtown. And the finalists in grades 6 through 8 for art. First place, Rachel Cohen, C.S. Porter. Kimberly Bolden, Woodman. And Dylan Duffalo, also of Woodman. And finally, for grades 9 through 12 in the essay category, I'd like to introduce our winner, Jacob Moon Goodsell from Willard.
Life is a choice, but what is life if everything is beyond reach? What is freedom stuck on a sidewalk, begging for change, waiting for a break, watching the future generation suffer, watching fur coats and name brands drifting by, no consideration, no conscience, self-esteem gone long ago, unemployed without a choice. What is life without a voice, shunned by the rest, reasons unsubstantial, overlooking the unsophisticated blabber as if simple words were an unknown speech, walking by without a glance as if I were a television drama, non-existent, too horrible for the mind, too just to the fact of reality. Ignorance is easy.
Thank you, Jacob. The other finalists in essay are Matthew Lease, Willard. If you're here, please stand, Matthew. And Amber McCullum, Big Sky. Our art finalist for grades 9 through 12 in first place was Kendra Ree, Willard. Bowen Newell, Willard. And Jasmine Summerlot, also Willard. So thank you all for submitting your essays and artwork and participating. Your hard work has been an inspiration for all of us, and we appreciate you sharing it with us. At this point, I'd be remiss if I did not thank the many people who made today's celebration possible. We have a number of wonderful sponsors who donated many items to this year's event, and they are listed in full in the back of your program. Please help me acknowledge their contributions. I also need to thank NCBI and the Martin Luther King Day Planning Committee. This dedicated group of people spent many months planning, usually at CYD, to make this event possible. If you would all rise and so we can acknowledge you for your work. Members of the committee, please stand. This year, the committee asked Ami Thurber, Executive Director of the National Coalition Building Institute, to chair the Martin Luther King Planning. NCBI is the first and only organization in Montana empowering everyday citizens with the skills to tackle racism and all forms of oppression. NCBI runs the Respect Clubs in Missoula's District 1 middle schools, an after-school program that engages youth to be leaders in ending mistreatment and helps develop youth and adult leaders across Montana, who can then work towards building not only just and inclusive schools, but also strong communities with individuals capable of creating positive change. As we welcome our last musical group of the evening, we're going to pass the hat. Pretty soon you should see a basket moving in front of you down your aisle. Planning an event such as this, despite the generous donations of time from all of our volunteers, speakers, and performers, is still costly, and we'd like you to help us ensure that the Martin Luther King Day is celebrated in Missoula each year. Any money raised beyond covering the expenses will be donated to the NCBI Respect Clubs. Amy Martin is a legend in Missoula's peace and musical communities. She is currently the director of Y Music at the YMCA, where she shares her love of music with children and adults in our community. We are fortunate to have them here tonight, singing an African song and an African American spiritual. Please help me welcome them. Amy.
American tradition of spiritual singing.
Dave, I'm not going to teach them all those. Elaine pointed out to me that when we say Lord in practice, we poke at it so that we hit it really hard. So we might want to do that. Lord. And then in the middle, you guys get a really fun part. You get to sing, did my Lord deliver? Daniel deliver, Daniel deliver, Daniel. Did my Lord deliver? Daniel, then why not everyone? So it's like Daniel, but it's Daniel. All right? Let's try it, guys. I need your help. Sing strong. Here we go. Did my Lord deliver? Daniel deliver, Daniel deliver, Daniel. Did my Lord deliver? Daniel, then why not everyone? Very nice, very nice. And then you guys, and these are awesome, by the way. We're going to sing, in the Lord, my soul's been anchored in the Lord. And the important thing about that one is that we hit the ins on the offbeat, so it's not in the Lord, which is sort of the boring way to sing it. It is in the Lord, okay? It's like a totally different song if you do it on the offbeat. Let's try it. 1, 2, 3. In the Lord, my soul's been anchored in the Lord. In the Lord, my soul's been anchored in the Lord. Very nice. There's a form in African American music that's called a quadrubet, and it's when you take 3 songs, 3 spirituals, and you put them together at the same time. So we're going to get one going, we're going to add the middle one, we're going to then put in the third one, and we're just going to let them roll. And it's going to sound kind of chaotic and crazy. Just sing your heart out and don't worry about it. And when I stop each of the parts, I'll go like this, and that means sing it through till the end of your phrase and then stop, and then you can do the other 2 kind of go out, okay? So let's try it over here with the Lord I've Undone. And it's going to help if we clap. All right, so let's get that going. We're going to clap on beats 2 and 4. It's another thing that changes it from a boring song to a cool song. march towards more equality in the world. It speaks to me about how much we need help from each other and help from beyond and anywhere we can find it, and also how we're sort of together in that. It's a lullaby, and I just think it's really pretty. And it also has two parts. So now I would like you to figure out if you want to be a high part or a low part. And if you want to be a low part, it doesn't matter where you're sitting for this. If you want to be a low part, you can sing, and you guys sing it with me if you will. All right? All night and all day, all the angels keep watching over me, my Lord. All night and all day, all the angels keep watching over me. So the only things that are a little funky about it is the first O. What do we do in the first O, guys? We've only had a couple weeks to practice this. What we do on the first O is we go like this to remind ourselves that it's a blues note. And on the second O, we do like this to remind ourselves that it's a high note that we're going to toss into like a basketball going into a net. So it's all night and all day, all the angels. Can you do the all the angels with me? Here we go. All the angels. That's right. And then the next part is all night and all day, all the angels. Can you do that? The all the angels. Here we go. All the angels keep watching over me. Let's get that bottom part solid and then we'll add the top part, okay? Here we go. All night and all day, all the angels keep watching over me, my Lord. All night and all day, all the angels keep watching over me. Beautiful. And I'm trying to belt it so everybody can hear it. That's when you can sing really gently. It's kind of like Silent Night at the end of Christmas or whatever. And then the higher part, people, you guys, if you're inspired, you can go all night and all day, all the angels keep watching over me, my Lord. All night and all day, all the angels keep watching over me. There's some kind of crazy chromatic stuff in there, and it's open to personal interpretation if you want. Oh, there was something I was going to tell you that was going to make it easier for you. What was it? Oh, just let it be really light in your voice. You don't have to push it at all. And also, guys, if you want to sing it an octave lower, even though it's the high part, it can be the low part as well. So anybody who's brave and wants to give it a whirl, let's sing the high part and we'll put them together. All right? All night and all day, all the angels keep watching over me, my Lord. All night and all day, all the angels keep watching over me.
Thank you again, Y Music and Amy Martin. We appreciate you very much. And on behalf of the Martin Luther King Jr. Planning Day Committee, I want to let you all know how much we appreciate you being here to celebrate Martin Luther King Day and support racial equality and economic justice in Missoula. Now, let's move downstairs, break bread together, and visit. Thank you very much.
Nice meeting you.